Pills, you know how much we love getting mad at lists, but I'm having trouble really getting mad at Craig Button for this one. He's got Jake Sanderson ranked as the second best prospect outside the National Hockey League.
And Ross, wouldn't you look at that? Detroit's top prospect, Edvinsson, looks like he's one spot behind Jake Sanderson on this list. So just another notch in the belt, proving that Ottawa is ahead in their rebuild.
Yes, certainly. Number 1 goes to Owen Power, the big defenseman from the University of Michigan. Hard to compare when it's a first overall pick, right? They get that little extra shine to them. However, if you're looking at NCAA and their governing body, they had Jake Sanderson on the first All-Star team this year, and they had Owen Power on the second on a more stacked team. So that's got to make you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to consider. And Jake Sanderson, not the only Sens prospect on this list.
Yeah, so we got Ridley Gregg on there as well. The two buddies, of course, their dads, if you don't know this story, fantastic.
Yeah,
their dads were both drafted by the Hartford Whalers in the exact same year. I believe it was 1980 because it was exactly 30 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, 1990. No.
I think it was 90.
9, it has to be. 1980, that's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
No, so they were drafted the same. One was a first-round pick. One was a second-round pick. Mark Gregg is Ridley's dad. Of course, everyone knows Jeff Sanderson, Jake's dad. So for them to both be on this list together is pretty sweet. There's a couple names, if we want to nitpick, that I would say, like, wait, Zach Bolduc's a better prospect than Ridley Gregg, huh? But for the most part, it's a lot of top 15 picks over the last 2 drafts. And crazy to think that because of so many graduations from the 2020 draft, like, only Jake Sanderson and Jack Quinn are in the top 10 here. Alexander Holtz as well, but he's ranked 15th on this list. But a lot of those guys have already graduated.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And now it's Jake Sanderson's time, and we're hoping we can see him in an NHL game this season. It's going to be close. I think the target date is the 26th, the game after our big game in Ottawa. But if we can get to see him in an NHL uniform, even for a couple games, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so Button says the separator for him was that every single area of the game is where Owen Power excels. I bet you if Jake Sanderson was 6'6" and Owen Power was 6'1", you might have a flip-flop there. But you know what? We are, we're really getting to the minute details.
It's a first overall pick. Like you'll give your nod to him getting that one. We're okay with it.
Fair. Even though, fun fact, he's only 4 months older than Jake Sanderson, who was one of the younger kids from his draft year, and Power was one of the older from his own. But still, a great feather in the cap of Jake Sanderson like he needs it. This guy's trophy case is already packed, and he hasn't even stepped foot onto an NHL game ice surface yet, although he has been skating wearing the red, white, and black. I know people love prospect talk, so we're going to give it to you because not only did Craig Button release his list of top 50 NHL-affiliated prospects, but he gave a list of top 10 prospects for each Canadian team, or he will give tomorrow. So before we're going to beat him to the punch, this is how we have ours. If you're watching on YouTube right now, the SensCentral top 10 prospects. These are players with less than 25 NHL games. Now, we were going to ask Craig, friend of the show, we're going to have him on, but I'm going to ask him if he didn't count Shane Pinto, just assuming he's already an NHLer. He's never played in Belleville. And yes, he's injured, but he's an NHLer. So I understand why people would have him omitted from lists. Hell, I think it was Corey Pronman. Somebody had omitted him recently as well. We're not. We're putting 25 games until you're a prospect. We did the same last year with Alex Formanton. He's graduated, but this is how you want to run through these, Pillsy. Run through where we had in lock, and then go from, we'll discuss our thought process beyond that.
All right, so if I remember correctly, our locks were Sanderson, Pinto, and Gregg, right? That we didn't have any discussions there.
No discussions. And I would even go so far to say Lassie Thompson would be a lock at number 4.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that. So Jake Sanderson first, Shane Pinto second, Ridley Gregg third, and Lassie Thompson fourth. Now, where we had some debates, and again, I'll admit, goalie-friendly show, so I am fighting for Philly franchise here. I might have put him above Boucher, but the thing with Gustafsson that people need to appreciate is he hasn't been given a stable season in like 3 years. Like, he's up and down with Belleville. He's even spent some time in the East Coast. Like, the Ottawa Senators' injury problems in the crease has really derailed Philip Gustafson from having consistent playing time in a consistent league. Like, he's been all over the place here. So I'm giving him a bit of slack, but Tyler Boucher is coming into his own. And now that he's playing in the OHL, which we all agree is a better spot for him to develop than the college league might be, just with his physicality, I'm okay with putting Boucher ahead of Gustafson, but don't count Gus out just yet.
No, I mean, I have, but I understand where you're coming from, though. If this was just my list, I would have probably even flipped Gustafson and Sogard, like just straight up flipped them. But I understand that Gus did have a great 9-game sample size at the NHL level when he played last season. So you know what? That's the give and take when you do a list as a team. So we've got Philip Gustafson on the SensCentral list at number 6, and then beyond that, I think Jacob Bernard-Docker, just because he's such a safe projection, you know what you're going to get from him once he hits his maturity. So I think that there's definitely a spot for him in the top 10. And the 8, 9, 10 players on our list, they're all kind of boom or bust in a way, don't you think? With number 8 being Igor Sokolov, number 9, Roby Jarventi, and number 10, Tyler Kleven.
I feel like Kleven is a safer one, but he's a higher floor, lower ceiling type guy. Whereas the other guys, Sokolov and Jarventi, may be a lower floor, higher ceiling type guy. Yeah. So it's interesting there, and especially like Tyler Kleven, he's farther away from the NHL here. Igor, that's a guy that honestly, it wouldn't be that crazy to see him in Sens lineup next year. Roby Jarventi, I don't think is quite there, but he's making his mark in the AHL. But Sokolov, it's going to be interesting to see what next year holds for him.
And then talk about a little recency bias, potentially, but we also loved what we saw from Ostapchuk in the NHL training camp.
He's a second-round pick. Like, good. There's good hope there.
All right, so we've got Ostapchuk, Sogard, and Crooker. Angus Crookshank, because we're not getting rid of Crooker after an injury-filled season. We still have faith in him. He looked fantastic when he came from college to the AHL last season. So that is our top 10 prospects for the Ottawa Senators. We're going to bring that list up tomorrow when Craig Button releases his.